We're going to start with the nation. Nigerians yesterday got, the start of the nation. Expect a competent cabinet, Tinubu assures Nigerians. Presidency defense election integrity. Dicey race for governor assembly seats coming up. Cash crisis, states reject CBN's partial compliance. Africa Development Bank partners target $618 million and 6 million jobs for Nigerians. ISWAP Boko Haram IPOB feature prominently on terror index list. I was going to start with the major headline. So yesterday, a lot of Nigerians got a peek into the president-elect's plans for his cabinet. It says it will be based on competence, youthfulness, and a priority given to women, but will be devoid of ethnic and religious considerations. According to him, those calling for a government of national unity, he, as the president-elect, is aiming higher than that. He says, I seek a government of national competence. In selecting my government, I will not be weighed down by considerations extraneous to ability and performance. The day for political gamemanship is over. I shall assemble competent men and women and young people from across Nigeria to build a safer, more prosperous and just Nigeria. There shall be young people and also lots of women. Whether your faith leads you to pray in church or in mosque, that would not determine your place in government. Character and competence will. Furthermore, he said, to secure our nation and to make it prosperous, we must put atop our priorities. And I mean, it's an interesting article, because these are the kind of words Nigerians need to hear at this time.
Yes.
And words that should show that it's going to be competence, that it's not going to be based on that the issue of politics, the gamemanship, the whims and caprices of politics is over. It's time for us to build a nation, which I think is what I got from this article. So Nigerians should read this article. It should give some inspiration of the kind of government we'll be seeing come May 29th.
Yeah. So I have the African Development Bank and some partners have officially launched a new investment in digital and creative enterprises, iDice, with investments worth a total of $618 million. The initiative was launched March 14th. It's expected to attract direct investments in more than 200 technology and creative startups and provide non-financial services to about 450 digital technology, small and medium enterprises. It was launched in Abuja, and then they describe some of the partners and those who made the largest funding. So we have the French government through the Agence Française de Développement, that they gave 100 million euros, that's $160 million. Then we've got the Islamic Development Bank, who they say pending approval from its board is expected to provide $70 million. Then we have the Nigerian government through the Bank of Industry will provide $45 million. Anyway, we have the president of the AFDB. He stressed the need to leverage on this huge potential for sustainable job creation and economic transformation. And I like what he said. He says, we're retooling Nigeria to be more competitive in an increasingly digital world. So, they're putting everything together there so we're not left behind in our ever-changing world.
That sounds interesting. Let me take the story about sad story. 4 military men and 4 vigilantes died in Niger State. There was, this included a major. So an army major, 3 soldiers, 4 vigilantes. It was 24 hours after a previous attack had killed 3 and kidnapped 70. So the army and the Joint Task Force went to visit the place and found the terrorists burying their dead. And they tried to attack, but they were overpowered and they lost 8 people, 4 soldiers, one of them being a major. They were overpowered by the security, by the terrorists. They said that majority of those adopted were still in captivity. About a few were released when they coughed out new Naira notes of 10,000 and 20,000 Naira. They also vandalized the Joint Security Task Force vehicle, and then they reached out to the Deputy Director, Army Public Relations of Training and Doctrine Command in Minna. No response. They also reached out to the police spokesman. No response. This happened in the Munya local government area of Niger State.
Okay, moving on to the Punch. Nigeria needs competence, not national unity government. IPOB rejects 10th deadliest terror group. Three feared killed as party supporters clash in Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo. Union protests airport concession sue minister and fan. States insist on contempt charge against Malami and Emefiele. Threats ahead Saturday pose worrisome, says Abdul Salam. Polls, Lagos, Kano, Rivers government candidates face tough battles, and leadership is not by force, says Jonathan. Okay, which story are we starting with? The Punch. Let me start with go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start with the unions protest airport concession. Aviation workers' unions have dragged the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, and the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, that's FAN, to court for the planned concession of the country's airports across the country. The workers say that Sirika and FAN do not have the authority to initiate a concession deal on the Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano, Port Harcourt International Airport, Port Harcourt, Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Ikeja, Lagos, and the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja. And they're asking the court to restrain them from determining the employment of members of claimants without complying with the provisions of the FAN Act. But we also remember in October 2022, Sirika had already formally unveiled the bidders for the Lagos, Abuja, Kano terminals and signifying the end for request for proposal. So we'll hear from the court how it goes. Is this really is it a bad thing really to concession the airport?
Well,
They might lose
I don't think so.
Unions might lose their jobs. Inefficiency
but we can
would be taken out.
We can
No. They can actually merge it.
Yes, we can have where the workers
sack the workers. They will still use them and even add more. Because we had
when you concession off, it leads to heavy casualization.
we
And that's
understand
what they're
that
trying to
could
avoid.
happen. But we're saying if we have they have like like a conversation or contract where say, okay, we'll do this, but make sure that our workers who are competent and can prove that they're competent can be retained.
The concessionaire can definitely consider that to ensure that they don't sack staff. So
and MOU is what I've been trying to say.
Damage for these kind of things. Let me take the story on the states. So Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara states have finalized arrangements to initiate contempt proceedings against, you know who, Godwin Emefiele and his and the Attorney General of the Federation, Malami, SAN. According to these three states, or these four states, they're insisting that the press release by the CBN was just a camouflage, that they're yet to actually, it's just an impression, to give an impression of compliance, that they're actually yet to fully comply with the directive of the Supreme Court, and saying that they are going to continually initiate the contempt proceedings against both of them. I read through the article to see exactly how have they not fully complied. But he's saying that they just gave a release, but they've not released money into the system. So we're waiting to see how that goes. But many people have also said that, yes, you've given us the approval to use these old Naira notes till December 31st, but there's hardly enough of this in the market. So they still feel that there's more has to be done. And these states are still taken into court.
So let me take the story about the terrorist index, the joint global terrorist index that was released, listing IPOB, ISWAP, Boko Haram, and IPOB ranked 10th among the deadliest terrorists in the world. In a statement, the Buhari Media Organization, the chairman, Niyi Akinsuji, said that for GTI to list IPOB among the top 10 terrorist groups in the world shows that the federal government's ranking them in 2017 and designating them a terror organization was right, that if any report on terrorism that is viewed credible across the world, such as Global Terrorist Index, is ranking IPOB among the top 10, then it's basically like Nigerians are justified in hailing the country's continuous improvement as well. But the response from the indigenous people of Biafra has said that this is a connivance between the federal government and some foreign partners to label IPOB wrongly.
Abdusalami Jonathan won candidates on voters. US IEP confused on terrorism index report says IPOB. I won't discriminate against those who didn't vote for me, says Tinubu. No respite as banks continue Naira rationing. Nigeria leads in cocaine business in Africa, says United Nations. NSITF dismisses allegation of awards of frivolous contracts. Constitutional lawyers, CSOs petition Buhari demand investigation of the EFCC. Corruption existential threat, says Buhari. Okay, which story are we starting with?
We have the constitutional lawyers, CSOs, who are petitioning the president to demand investigation of the EFCC. They're saying that about over 130 CSOs and 20 constitutional lawyers have raised the petition, have submitted a petition to the IGP, that's the Inspector General of Police, calling the president to not only address the protest against Bawa, that's the EFCC boss, to restore confidence in the capacity of the commission to truly fight financial crime. Some of what they listed as their grievances is arrest without valid warrants, detention of suspects beyond the duration allowed by the court, seizure of property belonging to suspected persons before any such declaration by court of competent jurisdiction, disobedience of court orders, amongst others. Yeah, so.
Let me talk about the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime report. It said that Nigeria tops the list of cocaine smuggling in Africa. According to this report, which was released yesterday by the United Nations, the report noted that the steep growth in supply has matched a swell in demand of cocaine in Nigeria. Morocco rates second to Nigeria in Africa. According to them, Nigerian traffickers often work with collaborators across Africa, in other countries, particularly members of a cult group in European destination countries, and many of them are operating in Brazil. So where the cocaine comes from is usually Brazil into Nigeria. The report also noted that based on this report, Nigerians and other countries, the main traffic product actually is cocaine, and trying to see the other countries, about 20 other countries, Ghana, Senegal, Mali, and others. But it's quite disheartening to know that Nigeria tops the list. Cocaine arrives in Nigeria via a variety of channels, including bulk carrier vessels arriving at the seaports in Apapa, Tinkan Island, and on passenger flights into airports such as Lagos, Abuja, Enugu, and Kano, across land borders at various locations, including Semeboda and others. The most prominent departure country is Brazil. So this is where the drugs are coming into the country.
We don't have a scanner in our Apapa port, but maybe as we are using the Lekki port now,
we know that
there will be improvement.
I mean, I know NDLA is doing a lot of work, but obviously it's still not
a lot.
But we also, the population of Nigeria is a whole lot.
So wait, the population, are we all drug dealers?
No, it's not that. When you look at the numbers, the ratio of people
compared to other countries.
Yes.
So we will be
I was watching recently a documentary on the effect of cocaine and other hard drugs on the human body and mind. And there's this documentary that shows you a month, 2 weeks when they start, 4 months, they look like completely different human beings. For most of them, they don't get any help or sustain that help. They go as far, they die.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to show those videos maybe
more,
so we understand the serious crime against humanity these drug dealers are committing against us.
That's another good campaign to do. Take around schools to do such.
Those videos are important.
Videos, yeah. Let me take the story about corruption being. He said the president is quoted by these special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, at the State House, to say that corruption remains existential threat to all countries. He was addressing the Code of Conduct Bureau, and the conversation was concerning the fact that they are going to continue to see how they will support the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Daladi Umar, commended the president, but made a long list that the tribunal has been hampered by lack of funding, poor staffing, and they are appealing for the intervention of the president. That they know the president is doing a whole lot to fight corruption, but they can't even do anything as much as they have the capacity to do because they have lack of funding. And the president is hoping that the next administration would follow up on the good work that they've done so far in fighting corruption.
Okay, Vanguard, 837 Guber, 10,240 assembly candidates slug it out tomorrow. 3 killed as Reps member escaped assassination in Ibadan. Anti-corruption, CSO's lawyers petition Buhari demand EFCC under power. Presidential poll results came as a shock to many, says presidency. Polls, threats of violence, intimidation, worry National Assembly Peace Committee. I intend to form government of national competence, says President-elect Tinubu. 4 soldiers, 6 others killed by bandits in fresh attack in Niger communities. Cash in circulation improves as new banknotes dry up. All right, which story are we starting
Have you taken that the cash note story?
No.
Okay, let me take it. So this is Vanguard's reporting and finding. They went and they did their investigation, and they said that it seems that normalcy is gradually coming since you know, the CBN sent the circular that the banks can start receiving and giving out monies. They said currency circulation has improved in major cities across Nigeria. This is following the 3rd day since the full implementation of the court ruling. They said that the old Naira banknotes are back in circulation. Also, ATMs, bank ATMs, over the counter, you can receive the old notes. They're accepted by traders and wherever services are provided. But there still seems to be a shortage of the new Naira notes. Yes, a shortage in supply of the new Naira notes. And from their findings, they said some banks said that they haven't received, you know, any monies from the CBN as of the time of their investigation. But the old Naira notes are back, they're in circulation, but also there seems to be a shortage, but everything is going back to normal.
Okay, into that story.
Yes, the National Vice Chairman of the Northwest of the APC, Saliu Lukman, apparently there were threats of lawsuit made against him by the National Secretary of the party, Senator Yola Omishore, over claim that the party is not accounting for funds deployed for the last governorship election in Oyo State, but he has written a letter and they said that they are demanding an apology, acknowledging the receipt of the information from Omishore's party that they are expecting an apology. In their own opinion, he said, in the opinion of our client, the statement he issued as a member and a national officer of the APC is not only false, not malicious, or made to assassinate the character of your clients, but as a suggestion. Anyway, the expectation is the vice chairman, the vice chair, right to demand apology, and it's an inter-party discussion.
Okay, so the Garba Shehu, the special assistant to the president on media and publicity, was saying yesterday that, excuse me, that the presidential elections was a shock, came as a shock to many, and he also agreed that many people did not expect the results, but that's the actual result of the elections. He said that he also urged the security agencies to deal decisively with those who are trying to perpetrate rigging in tomorrow's elections, especially in the governorship and the House of Assembly. According to him, some governors are planning to rig the elections. So he was saying that these governors are not gods. Before now, there used to be the assumption that when you finish your tenure as a governor, you are entitled to proceed to the Senate. But now we have seen several of them lose their senatorial bid because it's the will of the people. So they shouldn't try any attempt to rig tomorrow's elections. And has urged that security agencies should be on alert to ensure that these elections tomorrow are free and fair. Moving on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Let's find a story of not taking much. 18 poll candidates in last-minute push. Painter sentenced to death by hanging for killing 69-year-old lady evangelist. Excuse me. Fuel cash scarcity. Others to plunge 28.4 million Nigerians into crisis in 26 states and FCT. Airport Abiodun hosts aviation investors project Ogun as agro-processing hub in West Africa. 4 fair killed in Ibadan as police beef up security nationwide. I want my anti-corruption foundation sustained by successive governments, says Buhari. I seek a government of national competence, says Tinubu, and begging U.S. President to endorse Tinubu act of desperation, says Atiku. Okay, which story?
So I have this sad human interest story, but I guess 3 years after, it's supposed to be a win because they said almost 3 years after this 37-year-old painter, Olani Abegunde, was arrested and charged on a 2-count charge bordering on murder and armed robbery. He's been found guilty of murdering Lady Evangelist Grace Ajibola. This happened in 2021, a few weeks before her 70th birthday. He said he was in her premises, of course, realized that she had over 2 million in her account. He murdered her, and then he took the card and withdrew money, 40,000 in 3 installments. The court says that it's been proven beyond doubt that he did it, and he hasn't been able to prove his innocence because he first claimed that his confession was because he was tortured, but they say it matches his statement that he made at first, and also the CCTV cameras to show him making those withdrawals barely an hour after he had killed her. So 3 years after, though, we finally found guilty.
Justice. Our heart goes out to the PDP council, House of State of Assembly aspirant in Oyo State that was murdered in front of his wife and children in his house. As in, it doesn't have to get this way. We really don't need this.
It takes of desperation.
It's just a few days to the election.
I mean, it's quite painful, and I think the politicians, especially the governors, the leaders, must begin to continually reiterate that this is not a do-or-die affair.
3 others were killed just before the election.
They found the killers?
I don't know. We don't know. The police is beefing up security within Oyo State, but like, who is expecting that?
It's quite sad, you know. It's always important to douse. I mean, people can just take the cue from former President Jonathan. Once he conceded, everything just calmed down. So regardless of, we must continue to remind our followers, it's not a do-or-die affair.
You're
if
right.
I lose, I lose. If I win, I win.
You're right. Also, we need to be careful not to speculate, because I remember there was a politician that was killed when I was in just a long time ago during political season, and many people suspected the opposition. But we found out eventually that it was his son that killed him.